Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the No Nonsense live stream. Let's make sure we are going. Give it a second here on the old interwebs. Is it going? Holy shit. Second here on the old interwebs. Yeah, we're going. Holy gosh. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Well, how's everybody doing? Happy New Year. It is the end of 2019. Isn't that wonderful? And it's the start of the new year. Is everybody excited? Did you get your New Year's resolutions in? Oh man, that's always baffled my mind is when people have a real determination at the first of the year as if the year is going to change them. It's a nice, it works as a motivational tool, but it's not something that's very sustaining. Those New Year's resolutions last about as long as New Year's does, 24 hours. So today, the subject is hindsight is 2020. There's a couple reasons for that. One, we're obviously entering 2020, so it's the first and only time you could do this. The second is that one of the greatest gifts of my life that I've ever learned is I've learned a lot of things in hindsight, meaning to understand something after it's already happened. And it's typically, it's not always a bad thing, but it could be a matter of bad decisions, and then you learn from that. It could be good decisions too, It's not always a bad thing. Hindsight doesn't always have to be horrible decisions, but from my experience, it has been a very big learning tool. And I don't know the situations until I've gone through them, and then I look back on them and realize, like, oh man, this is what was going on. This is how I was thinking. This is how I was acting. This is what happened. I learned this lesson. I didn't learn that lesson. And it's a remarkable thing to be aware of. And if you're aware of your own life goals and projects, everything like that, hindsight is a very useful, probably one of the most useful things you could do, because only you know you better than anyone else does. And if you talk to somebody, like, go to therapy, tell somebody an honest truth about your life and your decision making, those people have an idea of your patterns, so they can call yourself out on those patterns. Witness you doing something similar to maybe you can't see in hindsight, but there it is. And that's why talking to people is great. You don't want to be completely isolated from the world. Like me, I like solitude, but I like being around people. But people that I know I can talk to, no, not just talk to. I like being around people in general. It's always me who holds people in contempt if I'm judging or am approaching that in my mind as something it isn't. I have to take a lot of things. It is what it is, accept reality for what it is, because this thing will create scenarios, delusions, and things that aren't happening before they even happen. And I've convinced myself that that's how it's going to go. I don't know the outcome of anything. And that's what's really scary for a lot of people, including myself, is like, you don't know how things are going to turn out. You have an idea of how you want them to turn out, but let's say it doesn't turn out the way you expected it. Guess what happens? Then that's where your depression comes from. You're anxious. You get mad, whatever. List goes on of all the emotions that we feel. So with hindsight, just think about, 20 years ago in 1999, right? Y2K was here, and that was a big deal. I remember a lot of people getting scared, thinking that was the end of the world, and preparing the computer glitch thing. If you don't know what Y2K was, for you that might be younger or don't remember, they were thinking when the year hit 2000, all the computer systems in the world pretty much were going to crash and everything was going to go haywire. You couldn't get money out of the bank, this and that. So again, media, articles, news, all that shit, they blew it out of proportion, which, I mean, they didn't know, because with the technology, you look back, it's been 20 years. They just didn't know. They're like, well, we didn't really anticipate how this was going to be. And nothing really happened. If you look into it, like, nothing happened. Unless you were like my friends who, when I was in the middle of a party, my buddy turned off the power to the house right at midnight. And for a couple seconds there, we were a little freaked out. We're like, because we were in a basement, so it was pitch black. And when the power went out, we did kind of freak out, like just a little bit, like, oh my God, it's happening, everybody get hammered and have sex. Because we were teenagers at that time. It was, what were you going to do, right? You didn't have life yet. You barely got done, hanging out with your your mom and dad. So, and nothing happened. And 20 years ago, that is a prime example of how things can be blown out of proportion. And this is, in the mind, start with yourself. This is how you combat the nonsense that exists in this world today. Is you have to start with your own mind and realize that the delusions and the things that you're thinking of aren't real for the most part. They're not. You might have a good idea. When you tell the truth and you're honest all the time, you can see when people are trying to fuck with you or be dishonest or lie. And that's okay. You just let them, hey, okay, God, you do your thing. Just, distance yourself from that and just hope that those people figure it out. So with Y2K, nothing happened. Nothing. Oh, no, nothing happened. Nothing happened like what they thought was going to happen, which was, end of the world type shit. Like Armageddon, fucking, we're all going back to the Stone Age. Nobody gets, nothing happened. But the fear was instilled into people's minds, a lot of us. And even if you didn't prep or do all this crazy shit that some people did, in the back of your mind, you were like, what if something happens? I did as a teenager. I go, what if something happens? What if the year 2000 is? But in my soul, I remember myself as a teenager, I was like, nothing's going to fucking happen. And nothing did. It's just a year. We lit off a quarter stick of dynamite in the street, made a big bang, pissed off one of the neighbors at midnight. He's like, my kids are sleeping. And at the time, being such a teenager, I was like, it's the fucking year 2000, dude. Fuck you and your kids. We didn't say that to him, but we were thinking it. Dude, the year 2000 only happens once. We're being very selfish. We gotta embrace the year. It only happens once. Just now the year's 2020, right? Do you have perfect vision? I don't think you do, because I don't. I'm blind as a fucking bat. But the point is, when you look back on something like Y2K, and in hindsight, you realize, we should probably learn from that. Maybe we shouldn't get so fear. But this is how human beings are as we've progressed through the generations, right? We get this. This is how you control populations, fear. We see in the media today, every time there's an article, they're like, oh my God, somebody got measles. And you're like, okay, how many people? One. Oh, where? Some rural town in fucking Texas? You're like, okay. If you really break it down into a logical thing, one person getting sick in a town in Texas compared to the 350 million people that live here, it's not a big deal at all. But when you hear about it, it gets implanted into your mind thinking, oh my God, what if my kids get measles? What if this happens with that? Delusional. It's fear. The fear starts spinning the wheels, and then your mind starts to get really scared, and you start to act and behave and believe and do stupid shit. So you have to start with yourself. Start with yourself and learn that your mind is creating a lot of this nonsense sorrows. And I'm not saying that fucking, we all know diseases exist, right? And shit. I've got shit. When I was a kid, I have eczema and it comes back right now in the winter. I get it. We have things that exist. But it's not as extreme as it seems based on the progress we've made. And maybe even in history, it may not have been that bad. I don't know. This black plague, whatever. Point is, don't let the fear creep into your own mind so you don't do stupid shit. Let the media, let the news articles, let the people, let your friends, let them go. A lot of this stuff is just received fear and opinions, and then it gets into your head and then starts fucking with you. It's like, if you're a boxer or a fighter, right? And those people trash talk each other because they want to get into your mind, because they know if they fuck with your head and you're not in the game, it'll fuck with your performance as that. If you can get into somebody's mind and cast doubt, cast fear, make them question themselves, holy fuck, dude, you've won. And that's how you control a population. It really is. That's how you do it, man. So to combat that, know this. It's not going to change in the world. It never will. We're all, too many of us, too many ideas, too many shit floating around. But it could start with individuals and starts with you. So how do you combat that? Know in your own life, think about all the shit that's happened in your life where you were so wrong in thinking things were going to happen and then they didn't. You can use the big examples like Y2K. 2012, remember that? That was another one, right? In the year 2009, it was such a big hype that they actually made a fucking movie about it. Big old disaster movie with John Cusack that was terrible. But, the day after tomorrow, climate, it's all bullshit. Okay? Know that. Know it's bullshit. It's a beautiful, what if this happened? It's imagination. It's wonderful. What if the three little pigs existed and the wolf? Yeah, I get it. There's some lesson to be learned. But no, it's fine, right? And then people argue it's not fine. Whatever. All I know is in my 35 years existence, I've been told a lot of lies and fears to believe that nothing happened. So forgive me if I don't believe everything I hear, because I don't. I'm like part skeptic, trying to do more stoic beliefs, but yet I still have that skeptic philosophy in me where I just like, I'm going to question this because I don't accept everything I hear as truth. And that's why I tell people, I go, don't believe anything I fucking say. No, turn this on your own life. Look at things in your own life where you were thinking something was going to happen and you were so convinced that it was. And then as you went through it, it was nothing like you fucking thought. That moment should teach you right there that, hey, maybe the problem doesn't lie out there. It lies within here, within me, within myself. And if you do that and you recognize that, you can become aware of that. You can begin to work on that, be present in the moment, and everything will work out for you. Life will be enjoyable. You won't have these fucking fears that don't exist, because if you ask yourself, no, I'm fine right now. I'm getting sick. Oh, great. You're focusing on sickness. The mind's very powerful. Words are very powerful, right? If you focus on the negative of a word, you've already fucked yourself inside your head. For example, I don't want to be angry today. Right there, negative. I don't want to be angry, or angry. That's already, you're already focusing on. I know it seems small, but it is. Your mind's already on that. So you have to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. I want to be calm today. I want to be helpful. I want to be serene. I want to be of service to other people, stuff like that. Those little practices in your mind, little itty bitty practices that you have to do constantly. It's one of those things that you're going to do for a day, 2, a week, a month, and then, oh, you're fucking amazing at it. No, this takes months and months and even years to become a habit, and a habit that will form into your life to where you actually start to notice these changes in your own behavior, and then people will notice around you. People are going to love you for it. They're going to fucking hate you for it, but it doesn't matter what other people think. Let that shit go. You will learn so much about your own life and your own experiences that you will be able to tell in hindsight. And everything in my life is either something I learned based on a delusional thought or something crazy, or an actual situation I went through that I was able to kind of look back on how I felt, what I believed, how I was reacting at the time, and really look at it and question my behavior, like, and where I was wrong. Where I was wrong is not where I was right. It's not good to be right. To be wrong is to be probably a much more, you have a better ability to grow if you admit your wrongs rather than be prideful and stand up and be like, I'm right. I know I am. And then go down with your ship and all that bullshit. Fuck that. So you have to be put in situations in your life and learn from them. And you can also still learn from other people. I mean, there's plenty of mistakes that I've never made that I don't want to make, like, never being arrested. It's like, I get it. I know a lot of people. One of my best friends is a police officer. I get it. I don't want to be arrested. I don't want to go through that shit. And the people who have, I've talked to enough people who have been in jail. I get it. I don't need that. I don't want that. I don't need to learn that lesson. I hope you did. And it's not better or worse. It is what it is, right? But that's a lesson. I get it. It sucks. I want to go through the mental anguish and that stuff to get to the points where I have to do to abide by the laws that don't get me in there, right? Your life is the best blueprint for becoming the person and the world that you want to be. And it starts with you and goes the inside out, your own family unit, right? So let's say you get married, you have a wife, a husband, whatever, and then you have children, and then inside your home, you can build the life that you want. Hey, Happy New Year's, my friend. How you doing, sir? I am well. Thank you for asking. And I figured I'd fire this one out because I actually have to work tomorrow. Yeah, damn day jobs. So you start with your family and instill some kind of either principles, morals, philosophies, things that the shit we've heard as a kid that we don't really apply, like treat people the way you want to be treated, not, if this happened to you, would you be upset? These are basic things that I've heard at least throughout my life, and either didn't sink in when I was younger, or I just didn't apply them and live them. See, it's easy to repeat this shit, right? It's easy to repeat the answers to a test. And that, a good analogy for me that I use is I equate it to like being in school and then like taking a test. Like you memorize the answers, but that doesn't mean you understand the material, right? You don't get what it means. You know the right answer to put, it's B and this is true and that's false. You know the answers, but you haven't lived it, right? You haven't implemented these principles and applications into your own life and then see the results. When you do that, this is why, for me, this is something I've been doing for the last 5 years, where I've been constantly hammering away at shitty behavior, things I don't want to do because I don't want to be angry. And I was an angry guy for many. It's still there, and there's a debate where when I dabble into things I read about now, like ancient philosophies, Roman Greek stuff, Stoicism, things like that. They talk about anger not being good at all. And then here in the Western world, we teeter on it a little, like, well, sometimes it's okay. And I could tell you, I used to be on that person who's like, well, sometimes anger is okay. The benefits of anger that I've had are it creates good comedy for me because when I'm angry, I fire away great jokes. I write great jokes, and I'm witty on the spot when I'm in that zone because it's destructive and it's really, I'm good at it. Now, if I stay in that zone too long, it becomes dangerous for me in a mental state because then I lose a lot of different things that are valuable to me. Peace of mind. I don't listen to people anymore. I'm not calm, and these are all things that I value today. I listen better today than I have when I had an attention span, right? Like it's amazing, and you don't see it right away, but then it's like little things that you don't even have to think about that just it becomes a way of life. And again, slow practice. When you start becoming present in the now, this isn't something you're not good at it overnight. It took me a long time to be in the now, and then people do come up to you and they're like, how are you just like this? And I just tell them, I like, look, this is what I do. You can try, but you just know it's something you have to, it's like anything in life, commit to it or don't, either go all the way or not at all. There's no, and that's the thing. We live at the best time, but it's also the most annoying time because there's so much shit to try and do that you have to figure this out for your own self, which is your journey. You need to figure out what works for you. And it's hard to do because you hear all this information from different stuff, right? But the best tool that I have discovered to get progress in your own life is always going to be you. The mistakes you made, the failures, the successes, all of them. And you take them and you look at them and you pick them apart. How were you really behaving? Question your motives. Ask yourself, was this a selfish reason or was I really doing this because I wanted to? You're your own best friend. No matter where you go, there you are. So you are the catalyst. You are the foundation. You, inside and out. So with hindsight, and being that we're going into 2020, a lot of people like to reflect on the year, right? They like to reflect on the shit they did wrong. They wish they could have did. You always hear a lot of negative stuff. Think of the year. Here's a suggestion. Try to look at the year as a positive. Look at something you got through. Look at something that you once feared that you couldn't do, then you did, and then you overcame the obstacle, right? It's not always like, yeah, I got to join the gym, lose about 10 pounds. It was a holiday weight. No, quit smoking. No, quit watching porn. No. I mean, there's like, yeah, with those vices, everybody's got vices. I've got my own vices that as time has gone on, I've tapered off a lot of things. I still do some because I'm just honest with myself. I'm not willing to become a full-on monk and join a group in the clouds and be like, oh yeah, I'm not that. But I'm honest with myself about taking advantage of the world around me, which knowing that I am grateful to be alive in the time I am, that everything is so accessible, easy to get to, and I don't take it for granted. I don't have to hunt my food. It's like right there. It's like I get that. So accepting my situation is a big step into being present and not having it become a selfish desire of like, oh, I want more, I need more, I should have more, I did this, I did that. Well, how come this didn't happen? See, I've learned to let go of expectation, let go of expectation of others. You can't expect, everybody's their own person. If you put it's a weird world because we work in expectations. Like, you go to work, you expect people at work to do their job. If they don't do their part of the job, everything goes off the rails. And I know this. I'm in an industry where if you have one part that isn't there, I mean, the whole fucking thing collapses. So again, you need people. It's about how do you handle those situations. Your life is the best foundation of learning stuff. In hindsight is one of the greatest gifts that I have found in my life, to be able to go through pain without falling under it, and being able to endure the pain and coming out stronger on the other side. Deaths, relationship changes, financial things, family stuff, all that shit. But going through it, not in the sense of like, I want to tell you something because I'm right, and do with what the emotions do, which is get angry. Anger, uh, I believe sometimes you need to have these battles that are unavoidable. But to get to the next level of whatever your growth is in your life, your spiritual growth, your own life growth, whatever you want to call it, you have to have these battles with people, place, whatever, within too. And every time you have this battle, sometimes they're unavoidable, and you just have to expel that energy and that force, get it out, and then go, oh, all right, what did I do wrong? Where was my head at? Why did I get this way? There's always an underlying issue for a lot of things, and you have to slowly uncover that based on your own behaviors, your own uh, decisions, thoughts, everything in life. Just look back and go, man, because we do this a lot as we age, right? I'm 35 and I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to be like, well, I'm not 18, right? So I'm not acting like a teenager who didn't go out into the world yet, but I'm also not 25 anymore, drinking myself to death, partying, and just fucking everything that moved. And then now I'm at an age where I go, I get why people have families and care about kids, and then make the family. I understand full circle, right? Like the prodigal son. That's my life, my story, the things that I share based on the lessons I've learned, which are hard lessons. Some came easy to me. Some were always there, but I decided to go against the grain and just see what I could do because, why not? But then in the inside, my internal, my soul, my logos, whatever, it's just something drove me back to reality. And thank God it did, because I wouldn't be here if it didn't. And another tool that I have discovered is beneficial to making your life calm, peaceful. So you want to have a good, just be calm, not have all this worry, have your head in the future and dwell on the past. Well, acceptance of your own mortality is key. I've learned this, like just accepting the fear of death. A lot of people are so fearful. That's why they try to look young forever. They fear getting older. They don't want to age gracefully. They just, that's why you see the 50-year-old woman trying to dress in with the pink fucking Victoria's Secret, thinking she's 21. She's not. You're 50. You're a grandmother. Let it go, sweetie. But again, what does that fear come from? And I mean, it's the fear of death. It's not the fear of aging. It's not the fear. It's the fear comes from the fear, anger, loss, all that are one, right? Fearing death is the ultimate fear. So if you can accept that one day, no matter when, could be tomorrow, could be 40 years from now, you're going to die. Great. Makes today go pretty good. It sounds crazy, right? Like, well, what does that mean? What? You have to practice it. It's not something that you can just overnight and understand that. Know that you're going to die, right? We all are. It's inevitable. No matter how much plastic surgery you get, how much makeup you get, how many days you go to the gym and work out, you will die. So knowing that, it kind of helps your perception get put a little more clear on what's a priority, right? What should I take a little bit more seriously, and what am I taking too seriously that I need to let go of that's wasting my time? Because time's precious. And then learn from that. Don't keep landing yourself on these same fucking landmines that you've done in the past. And we've all done it. I've got a history of things that I reflect on with a very clear perception and know exactly. And I look at my behavior and I'm able to pick it apart. Not always while I'm going through it, but in hindsight. That's why it's even immediately after it happens, something clicks in me and goes, oh man, We gotta talk about that one. Here we go. And luckily, I've got a lot of tools and places to go and people to talk to that I get what I'm saying, and their perception helps me better understand my own, and we grow from there. And accepting mortality, your death is key. Um, and I do not. I used to care when I was younger about how I looked so much because I was a fat kid growing up, right? I was a fat kid here in hindsight from when I was like first, second grade, I got really plumpy, right? And so I was a husky. We used to call it husky to not hurt the feelings. I was a fat kid. So I went from second grade up until sophomore year of high school. So you're talking from 7 to 15. So and I was just plumpy the whole time. And then I dropped like 30 pounds from 15 to 16, like sophomore to junior year. I came back from the summer and I was just a completely different person. I blame amphetamines for that because I had an addiction to weight loss pills before I did alcohol. And I dropped 30 pounds and I came back totally, like I looked similar today, but even then I was still kind of like inflamed in the face, but I was skinny. So that was enough. And it was the first time in my life that more than one woman was attracted to me. So I took that to heart. Boosted my ego really nice. And all of a sudden, all the girls were like, "Ooh, there's Matt. Hey, Matt." And I was a funny guy, and that was attractive to women. And I didn't take bullshit because I just kind of, you know, I said what was ever on my mind. So it kind of overshot my pride a bit, but at the same time, I knew in my soul, I'm like, I'm a one woman man at heart, and I want to just have that one thing. That's how I not say I was raised, but I just felt it my whole life. Maybe I was because I was around a giant family who had that, but I don't know. That's what I wanted. But the point is, I've gone up and down that scale as far as the weight goes. But I remember being like, late teens, early 20s, just being obsessed with staying skinny. And I made this lie promise to myself where I was like, I'm never going to get fat again. And lo and behold, in my mid 20s, I just blew up drinking too much, eating shitty, didn't work. I didn't take care of myself at all. And I got up to like 220 and was like 165, 170 for like years, and then ballooned up. And I went back down. I ballooned up again towards my late 20s. And then just in the last few years, this. And now in my mid 30s. I'm in the best shape of my life because, not because I made weight loss and all that stuff a priority. No, no, no. I made my mind and uh, sobriety. That's a start, the top, and then everything else trickled off of that, based on my own patterns of life and behaviors. Because something needed to change. I was making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, and we all know it's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result. So my results sucked. And I was also drinking copious amounts of alcohol, which didn't help. And I couldn't stop that. And I had to start there. So I started one spot. And then as the years progressed, I had nothing but time to look within myself for the answers. Not out there, not in a different relationship, not in the stuff I accumulated, not in the money in the bank, but in here. And the more I did that, the more the external stuff actually came to be, believe it or not. And I did that by slowly going through a lot of different pains, but then going back and talking about them, analyzing them, going back and seeing where I was right, where I was wrong. It is what it is, and just sharing that information. And the number one thing I realized was accepting death, because the real truth was I was fearing life. I was fearing living. I was putting too much power into the hands of other people. I cared too much about what other people thought of my behavior rather than what I actually cared about. Like, I gave too much power to others. And that was one of my downfalls, which was I wanted to make everybody happy while I in turn was miserable. But making everybody happy was like a false sense of joy for me. Like, it brought me like bits of joy, but it would be at the expense of my own being. And when you do it that way, it kind of chips away at your inner soul. It just chips it away and makes you bitter, resentful. So I had to learn to not be bitter, resentful, and just do stuff willingly, and when to say no, yes. I mean, there's a million things to go through in life, but once I learned the lesson, I learned it, and then I had to practice doing what I needed to do to not try to repeat that kind of same needless suffering, because you'll feel pain in life. We're going to feel pain, physical pain, emotional pain for years to come. But how do you deal with it, right? And by dealing with the pain in a very calm, serene manner, you become a stronger, kind of more centered focus, right? And people see this, and I've been drawn to people who I can just, you can tell their heads on their shoulders are calm, they're in there, and then they deal with it when they need to, and there's a place for it, and they know when to apply something, when to recoil. And that kind of balance in life has been key for me to a successful relationship with myself, people, places, everything, all of life. God, higher power, whatever you want, whatever your cup of tea is in this world. But I know it's not me. Nature's a beautiful power. Look at those squirrels outside. Aren't they wonderful? But, uh, look back on things. Delusional thinking has been one of the biggest gifts of hindsight, which was, ask yourself this question: how many times have you been in a situation where you thought, like, you know what, this is gonna fucking happen, or you were too scared or prideful to do something, and then you did it, and then it went completely not the way you thought it was going to, and then you realize, like, oh fuck, that was me. I've done it, a lot of times. I have stories for days, very key stories that were pivotal points in the way I thought, that changed my perception and allowed me to get past repeating those mistakes. And then here we are. So your life is the best foundation for knowing how to do that. And then once you do those changes, people see it, they'll be attracted to it, they'll ask you questions, and you help out where you can. This is why I love talking about it, because it's not something most people talk about. I mean, I should say most people. We have the internet, so it's actually talked about a lot. But I think within your own circle of family and friends, like, nobody gives a shit, or at least you'd think they don't give a shit. But then again, that could be your mind. And then you start talking to one of your family members, you're like, oh shit, you're into that too. It's like, I never would have thought to know. So you can't be scared to, I like to rock the boat and ruffle feathers a little bit, get people thinking, get outside their little comfort zone. I'm good at doing it, and I like it. It's fun. It's like, all right, but if you didn't think this way, let's talk about it. That's me. I don't mind taking some tongue lashings for it. I think it's great that people want to do that, because we're so comfortable that we are scared to get outside that comfort and lose it, right? Even that comfort zone, you're scared of losing because it's so warm and fuzzy in the shit. I don't want to lose my fuzzy shit. And it's all right. Rock the boat, ruffle some feathers, ask some questions, question a few things. It's okay. Question yourself, ask yourself what those motivations, what you do. And your own life is the best blueprint. So you make some shitty decisions, look at it honestly. When you're not in emotional flux, like you're angry, frustrated, look at it from a clear perception, talk to somebody about it, and be like, see where you went wrong, see where your behavior was selfish, self-centered, see where you weren't thinking clearly. All this matters. There is no pill, there is no light switch solution to this. Everything that I'm talking about are something that you need to apply to life. You can memorize all the answers to the fucking test, but if you don't understand what it is you are learning, it's just knowledge in the head. You're great at reciting answers, but you don't get it. And that's okay. I was that fucking dumb, young, naive kid. And even, in my adult life, I'd hear something, be like, oh, yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. But then I didn't know what I'm talking about. I really try to just research stuff based on my own life and experience, because that you can't fuck with. You can't fuck with your own life experience, right? I can't be wrong about the things that I did, experienced, saw, felt, and thing, and then relay that information to the rest of the world. So that's like the best source is you, and what you see and how you do stuff. And then as we share our own perceptions and observations and things we go through, the good, the bad, the ugly, we then can better understand and have compassion for other humans. I like, because if I hold people in contempt prior to investigating them as people, and I just hold them on a surface level, see, that's me. That's a surface level thought. I have to go deeper than that. And I start to talk to them, they're like, my mom's got cancer, I look at there was this time, this was like a couple months ago at work, these ladies came in and they were sitting there, and I'm in the restaurant industry, and I was waiting on them, and they were sitting there just talking, and I was closing, and it was getting late, and we're closing up, and in my mind, I'm fucking ready to go. I was tired, I'm ready to go. It's about me. And I remember just going over there saying something like, "Well, can this be reheated?" Because we're going to a hotel, and my first thought is sheer stupidity. I was thinking, "The fuck? Of course it could be reheated. It's pasta, you fucking more." Like, again, this is me. I sometimes things that are just normal to me, but not to others, I receive them as being stupid. Again, I'm the problem. So these ladies were talking, and it turns out this is her sister-in-law, the one across from her, and she said that her brother was having open heart, or her husband, her brother, was having open heart surgery in the morning. And it immediately brought me back down to earth, because then I realized, like, oh, this is why they're hanging out, having a couple drinks and talking. They're feeling pain, right? It put me in their position. They're feeling pain, and this is the way they're dealing with the pain, is they're talking, they're there for one another, they're trying to understand that the next day is a big day, because he might not wake up from the open heart surgery. That's some big shit, right? And then immediately brought me back down to earth, because I was looking at only from what I was getting out of something, right? I was looking at it as like, these ladies are making me stay longer in my life, because time, but again, my choice to be at this job and do what I do. I can always look for another job. See, that's my responsibility, my decisions, if I didn't want to waste that time there. But I have chosen that position. I have chosen this way of life. That is my job at that point, at that present moment, that I am committed to. So I need to be aware of that. It's a wonderful process, but that, in hindsight, as immediately after that happened, it made me look at the whole situation. Hindsight, man, it's a beautiful gift to teach you a lot about yourself, and to teach you more on how to behave in a way that you really do want demonstrated in the world. You can't just say you want the world to change and you want everything to be this, because you can pass laws and do all this dumb shit, that none of that matters. Do you behave in that way? If you do, you're not probably speaking about it. You're living it right now. But if you're questioning that, like, am I that way? You're probably not. But you can. It's a choice. I'm all about, if you're going to do something, commit and go all the way. And this is why today, when people tell me, like, don't you want to do this, Matt? I'm like, no. Why would I? Because you don't want to. I'm like, because I know I will not give it my all. That's why I don't. It's not worthy enough of the time that I would want to commit to it. And it actually takes away from other people's time, because I'm not willing to give 100% of mine. See, that's actually not selfish. I'm actually being honest with myself that I don't want to do that, or commit to something, or partake in something. That is wisdom, folks. that's what it is. Knowing this isn't good. Don't please people. If you can't commit to something 100%, that's one of the best suggestions I can give to anybody, is don't commit if you're not going to do it, just to say the thing that you think somebody says, even if it's something small. Like, you want to get some coffee? Oh, yeah. And the coffee comes up. You're like, oh, I make up some excuse not to go. Even something as small as that, learn to stick with that commitment. I said that Thursday we were meeting for coffee at 9 a.m. I will be there no matter what, unless there's an emergency or something. But, to be honest with yourself, if you commit to a time just for coffee and you don't want to go, which means you just have that conversation with your inner dialogue. You didn't want to go in the first place because you really don't want to talk to this person. And that sounds cold, but maybe you don't. But then again, maybe you're just fearful, because maybe you're worried about, you don't have anything to talk about. What are you going to say? What are you going to do? So you're already thinking too much. A lot of things in life, all you have to do is just show up and then see where it goes. The mind, man, this fucking thing, so powerful. And people who run this world know that. So remember that. It's up to you to not take the poison every day. You have to learn this based on your own life. So once you become aware of it, know it, go from there. And you'll see some results, not in a day or a week. After, if you could do something for a good solid 6 months, I'd say consistently. Consistency is key. And then you don't have an expectation. You'll just start to make it a way of life, and it'll be there. So you won't even have to be like, what's happening? How come I'm not getting the thing that I said you were going to get when I did it? Because you're expecting a outcome. You can't get an outcome, but you can get a way of life that will give you outcomes that you can't fathom, that are awesome and are unpredictable. So again, know that, accept that, and then you don't need to worry about it. Accept your own death too. You'll be fine. Life will be great. The now will be more precious, because you don't know if that last conversation I had with those women that night was my last conversation. You never know. Always know that. But that doesn't mean you have to live in fear. You can't live in fear. Be not afraid. You just know that, and then it makes everything that much more enjoyable. I'm around so many people the last couple weeks, and with the holidays, everybody was bitch moaning, I'm glad Christmas is over. I'm like, Christmas isn't the problem. You are. And I'm not saying people that don't have difficult, you don't know my brother-in-law. Like, I got a brother-in-law. He's a piece of work. I love him. But he's such an asshole. And but we all have different walks of life, and I'm not saying that we don't have difficult people in our life, but you have the option to just accept people and move on with your life, and not to react. And you can be okay. Maybe they're not, but you can be. Just don't let that shit affect you. You'll be all right. And just be. That's the best you can do, is just be. Just show up and be. Don't think. Don't go. Just show up somewhere. You'll be all right. And life is good. So I'm going to get out of here. Happy New Year to everybody. Be safe if you're going crazy. If you're like me, I'll be sleeping probably before midnight anyway. So that's what we do when we're old men. We sit down and we just we eat some cocktail wieners, and then we talk stories about the good old days. No, seriously, I'm gonna go to work and probably be too tired to give a shit. But just remember, hindsight. Look back on your mistakes, but also triumphs too, and even the good things. Look at all of them, analyze them, and then use that strength. And don't be arrogant about it. Don't let your arrogance get the best of you. Don't go, oh, I did this best I could. It's like, okay, pat yourself on the back. Nobody cares but you. You can only take pride in things that you've accomplished, not others. But don't let it get to your head. Oh, so much to learn. But all you got is time. That's your best currency. Use it wisely. Happy New Year. Happy 2020. And I'll see you guys later.